Voting rights and voter suppression are both hot button issues right now, with the For the People Act before the U.S. Senate and Republican states passing restrictive voting rights laws. An often overlooked part of this discussion is felony voter disenfranchisement, which includes restrictions on the rights of people with felony convictions and those on parole to vote, not to mention the voting rights for incarcerated people. For many, this is fundamentally a racial justice issue because black people are targeted by the criminal legal system. Here are the figures. 7 states, Alabama, Florida, Indiana, Kentucky, Mississippi, Nevada, and South Dakota, bar 10% of their adult black population from voting. In 2 states, Tennessee and Wyoming, more than 20% of black voters are disenfranchised. And recently, Virginia and Washington state passed laws to reduce felony disenfranchisement, and Washington, D.C. passed a measure allowing people in jail and prison to vote. Now, a new bill in Connecticut could end felony disenfranchisement by allowing people on parole to vote immediately upon their release from prison. Now, there's no one better to talk about this Connecticut bill and the wider issue of felony disenfranchisement than attorney, voting rights activist, and executive director of the Florida Rights Restoration Coalition, Mr. Desmond Meade. Glad to have you back on, sir.
Glad to be on, Yodit. You give me way too much credit, though. But
you deserve it.
This issue is a hot topic now. I mean, even looking at what's going on right now in Congress with the voting rights legislation there too as well. But this, I remember last time on talking about how, what we're seeing is just a continuation of Jim Crow era with these voter disenfranchisement laws. And so to see what's going on in Connecticut is somewhat encouraging, but the debate still rages on.
Well, let me just ask you about why voting rights for people with felony convictions on parole or incarcerated is a voter suppression issue and is just as important as passing legislation such as the For the People Act.
Let me tell you, when you talk about felon disenfranchisement and voter suppression, you're touching on a bigger subject, and that is an attack against democracy. And voter suppression has been the main way that folks have been attacking our democracy. And when we try to use excuses, as far as with people committing crimes, but we know what the original intent was. It was to reduce access to democracy to the newly freed slaves. And now people committing crime is used as a pretext, and it's more political in nature than anything, because it doesn't make too much sense. Because at the end of the day, this is the same country that, its rallying cry was there shall be no taxation without representation. However, what you're seeing is that there are millions of people in this country who are paying taxes, but yet do not have an opportunity to vote.
Mm-hmm. Now, let's look at this bill in Connecticut. It deals specifically with people on parole. Now, keep in mind, Connecticut already allows people with felony convictions to vote, but not those incarcerated for a felony conviction or currently on parole. So for our viewers to understand, because I know sometimes people confuse parole and probation. Being on parole means you've been convicted of a felony, served your time in prison, then been released, and now have to serve some time under community supervision. So why is it so important that people on parole be allowed to vote?
Well, I mean, I think it's a common sense. It's a common sense answer to this. At the end of the day, they've served their time. When you talk about the difference between parole and probation, with probation is generally handed out in lieu of a prison sentence. So rather than being incarcerated for 2 to 3 years, you're given probation for that period of time and not have to actually go behind bars. When those individuals are allowed to be able to vote because they haven't been behind bars, it would be unfair. And I think that they tried to address this in this Connecticut legislation for people who have been to prison but are on parole, but they're not physically incarcerated, to be barred from being able to vote, while those on probation may be able to do so. And so if a person is released from incarceration, they should have just as much access to democracy as a person that was on probation. Now, ideally, Yodit, a person, American citizen, should never lose their right to vote, like in Maine and Vermont. That's being able to vote is probably the most telling indicator of citizenship that there is. And so no one should ever lose their citizenship status because they made a mistake.
You know, and when you mentioned those two states, those are probably the two whitest states in this country with very little black population, right? So the effect isn't really as big as we would want it to be. But now, when Crystal Mason out in Texas was sentenced to 5 years in prison for voting by mistake while she was on supervised release, that had a chilling effect, right? Because a lot of people who had contact with the criminal legal system were afraid of risking their freedom to cast a vote. Now, one of the provisions of the Connecticut Bill would provide automatic voter registration for people once they leave prison. So this could help alleviate that fear, right?
Most definitely. You know, one of the things that we try to do as far as when we're really analyzing these policies and or laws that impact voting for people with felony convictions is whether or not it leaves room for anyone to implement some type of mechanism or policy that creates a chilling effect on people being able to register to vote. For instance, in Florida, the threat of incarceration or prosecution for someone making a mistake about whether or not they're eligible to vote will prevent a significant number of people who are otherwise eligible to register from actually registering. And so you want to make sure that when we're passing these laws or policies, that we do so in such a way that leaves no doubt that does away or eliminates any kind of uncertainty that a person may have as to whether or not they're eligible to vote. And the less uncertainty that's out there, the easier it is for us to get more people engaged.
Mm-hmm. Now, Desmond, we've had this conversation before, and I know your story, but for our viewers who don't, tell them why exercising your right to vote as a person who was formerly incarcerated, what that means to you.
Well, it means the world to me, Yodit. You're taking me back to in August when I had voted for the first time in over 30 years, right? And as a matter of fact, this past November when I voted in the presidential election, I'm 53 years old, and that was the first presidential election I've ever voted in. And I'm going to tell you, when I walked into that voting booth and engaged in actually selecting my candidates of choice, I realized that what I was doing transcended the partisan politics. It really transcended the racial anxieties and implicit racial biases. And it really took me to a place that said something so simple. It said that I am a citizen of this country, that my voice do matter, that I have a say in how my community, my state, my country is ran. And I think that voting is almost an act of validating your existence, your humanity, right, and your right as a citizen. And that's something that, our ancestors had recognized and was willing to die for. We talk about voter suppression now, and trust me, I'm not trying to minimize it. But when I think about what our ancestors had to go through, where they were hung on trees, they were burned, they were beaten, bitten by dogs, and they faced almost certain death just to go register, and they was willing to experience that. They was willing to walk through that and then turn around and have to do it again just to go vote. And so thinking about those sacrifices of my ancestors, it really speaks to how valuable and how special the right to vote is, and what it really means, and what it really how it speaks to our existence and our humanity.
Desmond Meade, I could just hear you speak about this all day. Your story is so fascinating to me. And for those who don't know who Desmond Meade is, I mean, he has been on the front lines of voting and those who are returning citizens and having their rights reinstated and restored. And he's just doing some amazing work. Desmond Meade, it's always a pleasure having you on. Attorney, voting rights activist, and executive director of the Florida Restoration Rights Coalition. Thank you again for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me, Yodit.